I'm finally late to the party in HSR because the character that I only built right now, which is none other than the Silver Wolf level 1999. She was our third anniversary unit for the HSR, which was also a most anticipated unit in HSR community. Most of the people are really like the Silver Wolf as her base version when she was released. She is not even a new character in HSR verse. She was also have some kind of like appearance and also playable character in the Honkai Impact 3rd. Having this kind of like already pre-built fan base, she also does have some values, but that's not the main thing what I'm trying to say here. The main thing is that when people saw her kit and also when people saw her gameplay, she was very much of a good competitor compared to the any of those like a DPS, especially when the games release any of those like a emulator class character. They are going to be, or you can say tend to be the meta creator, or you can say the apex tier characters, especially the upcoming end game content and also any of those like a form of end game content will be totally revolves around that particular emulator, especially particular anniversary characters. If you don't even have the anniversary character in that time, then I guess it would be actually very much of a hard for you to compete with the respective end games. It might be actually hard for you to complete it without the anniversary unit. That's the main thing that I wanted to say here. But one thing is for sure, this game does have kind of like a good amount of options, but those kind of good amount of options are not even viable if you don't even have a one invested characters, which is comes in handy of the vertical investment. If you are a horizontal investment player who just totally pulls right away each and every banners, you might be the first one to fall victim of it and you cannot even clear it, and you are the first one to post in a comments that power keep is there. But it is actually not even a good practice by the HSR doing this kind of like a shield content. Yes, shielding is one thing that it should be done, but if it is not even done properly, then your player base cannot even clear with their existence unit. Suppose if I just give you an example, you are just like a 2 years old character who just come back to this game and somewhat have a old character such as the Jinglu and also the Bimtuluna, where in that respective time they were the most broken DPS character, but somewhat you cannot even able to play those characters into this current versions. So what you will do, you just really lost the interest, you might not even play it. So that's the main thing that you have to understand. But if you just somehow able to have some kind of like a vertical investment into those characters, you might even have a chance to clear the end game mode, but it will also be going to be kind of like a hard to do that. Maybe you won't even clear it within a 0 cycle, which is a very much of a non-existent things for you, but somewhat you are going to clear it within the 10 cycle that the game is actually going to provide you. So in this game, the vertical investment and also horizontal investment matters the most. Well, the games where the character constellation or characters dupes are matter, or you can say that change the whole perspective of a character's gameplay. In that game, horizontal and vertical investment does really do matter, especially in Genshin Impact and also HSR's games. Well, guys, when this game was released, it does not even show that kind of fatigue, but after some time later, it is still a gacha game. Most of the people who are actually playing it, they are also feeling like the power keep is still there, but they somehow did not even push back their agenda, or you can say the shield, just like what the HSR and also Genshin Impact has been doing for a long time. So still their characters multiple constellation will give you an extra effect. So having a vertical investment on a certain character, especially the anniversary character or like a sentinel or emulator types of class of characters, it will actually going to give you a value, not the value like if you are a tourist player who don't even play certain games regularly, then you are going to get rewarded just because of you get invested or one of those like a powerful character. They are going to be added the value on your account whenever you just trying to log in this game. So HSR has this kind of problem, but if you just somehow able to invest some like a good amount of pools on your Acheron, who is also at a 3 years ago unit, you might can even have a chance to clear the current endgame mode, because in the current endgame mode there is kind of like a new support character, or you can say the sub DPS character drop in, which is the plate SP version or Awaken version of his base version. These guys also actually a good character for the Acheron, and you can consider not actually good, one of the best in slot. Anyway, I just totally diverted my main topics. The main topic is that Silver of level 1999. If you just somehow really try to invest on this anniversary character, as I already mentioning before that investing on the anniversary character is the best choice that you should do, I would like to say you have to buckle up first, because as myself who just totally got lucky and get Silver of E2 within like 80 pools, I really wanted to say is that if you don't even have a E2 sparkle and also don't even have the signature light cones or good investment, I guess it will actually going to be very hard for you. Now the question is that what her E2 give us? E2 give us extra types of basic enhanced attack on her ultimate, and also you might even have a double ultimate when your ultimate is going to end. But there is a very much of a highly restriction which you really need to maintain, which is the MMR requirement. Well, yes, Silver of level 1999 is kind of like one of those character who doesn't even follow down normal like a energy based archetype, just like a normal DPS. She's also follow the unique types of ultimate archetypes just like the Castoris, Acheron, and also Fei Xiao. After all of those things, if you don't even feel of one of those like archetype for her ultimate, you might not even able to deploy her ultimate in a full of a rundown. So for her ultimate generation, she really needs a high MMR, and this kind of MMR can be generated by two characters. First one is going to be the Sparksy. Of course, she is the very much of a specialist to create this kind of like a high MMR points. And second one is going to be the Yaguang. Yaguang is not even going to provide you that much of a MMR what the Sparksy could do, but she can even actually help you to do the more damage in a hard damage buff and also whole over elation buff at the same time. She is actually a Siren for the elation characters. Well, that's the two character that you could ever get this kind of like MMR, and also another character you could also get it, which is the elation MC, or you can say the EMC, but that is also going to be lower than what Yaguang could provide you. But that's the not the main thing. The main thing is that the requirement of our E2 is going to be the 242 MMR to deploy another ultimate right after the first ultimate. Able to get this kind of like a high MMR in this current version, we cannot even have it until we just have a E2 Sparksy, which is a very much of a high costly character to have, because if you cannot even spend like almost 500 or at least 400 pools, then I guess it won't be enough to get your E2 Sparksy, unless you are like one of those lucky guy who just also going to get this character within 100, 150 or like a 200 pools. But getting a character to maximize her E2, which is also a costly things to do, and also getting another character E2 for that reason, it is actually not even a good choice to do in the first place. So all I wanted to say is that if you really want to think about getting silver level 1999 I would say don't even do that. If my silver wolf did took like a 200 or 300 pulls in that time when I trying to make her E2, I guess it would be pretty much of a sad for me. But my intention was not actually making her E2, but when I just somehow get able to get her even within her like a 10 pull after getting the first copy of her, then I thought that why not getting her E2, because it was actually early characters. So that's the whole of my pulling sessions. But if you really want to spend like a 200 pulls, I guess you better do it on other characters such as the Siren and also the especially new Blade character, or you can say the Blade Martinez SP character. So other than that, that's all for her things. But I hope that HSR developer are going to fix it just by adding another character, because in this current moment Elation does facing kind of like a one missing puzzle pieces for making a full Elation preventing, just like the Remembrance, or you can say just like the Castoris teams. So that the final team is going to be really required a sustain character who is also comes from the path of elation, and most of the people are assuming that character is going to be the part. You already seen her from the story and also in the Planecardia history. If you haven't even done the Planecardia, then I guess this name might be new to you. You can even just totally search it on the YouTube to see how does she look. Now after the part release, I guess the requirement of MMR won't be totally lie between the E2 Sparksy and also some of the other characters. I guess it would be fixed, but it is actually far-fetched to think about it, because most of the times HS developer does not even do what we thought it would be. Okay, anyway, that's all the yapp that I really wanted to share with you guys. Let's see the build for the Silver Roof and also her respective team members. For the Silver Roof, I'm currently using her Bestness or Signature Lightcon, which is actually going to give you a huge amount of damage bonus, but also going to give you 18% speed, which actually helps you to meet the threshold of her 200 speed. It is kind of like a controversial things. Most of the people from the HSR community would not even recommend to do that, because having to get a higher amount of roll within maintain accurate key damage things for a substitute in any of single pieces is actually very much of a far-fetched thing to do, and most of the times it would take like a 5 or 6 months. Most of the time it would take a 1 year to maintain like a perfect piece with like a perfect kit and kit damage. But one thing is for sure, when it comes to this Silver Roof, she has her inbuilt so much damage buff where she doesn't even require that much of a kit damage. As you can see that my kit rate is 88, but my kit damage is very low. I am really unable to make her like a 1:2 ratio where 50 to 100 kit damage would be the optimal things, but in here I totally maintain her 88 and also 105 kit damage. But my speed requirement is totally 1 speed far away for her meeting to the 200 speed, because one of my pieces roll does not even get enough speed roll to meet the 200 speed threshold. Now the thing about the 200 speed, why it is actually very much of a recommend for some people. Now the thing about the 200 speed, if you do have a signature light cones, it is actually very much of a highly recommended to make a 200 speed. Now having the 200 speed on your Silver Roof, your Silver Roof could even have a higher amount of turn in a single cycle, and having a higher amount of turn on your single cycle, you could even hit the 0 cycle most of the time. Now having 0 cycle, most of the people don't even care this kind of things, because if you are just somehow able to clear 5 cycle or 4 cycle, you are going to get what the 0 cycle guy gets. the rewards are totally same. That's the main thing what I'm trying to say here. So that's the thing, most of the people would even you to do that, but there is one thing that you have to understand. The psychology behind of the 200 speed is going to be that when the content are not going to be shielded towards the elation teams, then in that time having this like a 200 speed, your silver roof is still going to get a higher multiple amount of turn in a single cycle. In that time you won't even have to go for like a 4 or 5 cycle, you can even just do within like a 1 or 3 cycle. Just like remembrance teams, when the shields are totally not even gated towards the remembrance, then remembrance team still can even clear within like a 1 or 3 cycles, just by having the premium team and also having the right builds with their right respective light counts. This is kind of like a future proof investment that you have to understand right now, and also invest yourself to make a 200 speed, which is kind of like a really important things to do that. And another part which is going to be her like a trace, I already maxed her out all of those things because I don't want to miss any of her single damage. And for her relics, I'm currently using a ever glorious magical girl pieces. This set is currently one of those like a best in slot piece for any of those like elation DPS. Just like if you just somehow want to use a best in slot pieces for the Evanescence, this set is also going to be comes in handy. Why this set is actually good? Because this set is only work for the elations, and also the 4 set passive going to give you a defense ignore, and 2-piece set is actually going to give you a crit damage buff. Now having the silver roof, you have to maintain a speed, so for that reason, as you can see that my substrate is also having a good amount of like a speed 6, and also for my handpiece I also have 11 speed. My roll was good, but as you can see that I don't even have a crit and crit damage. As I already mentioned before, in silver roof on herself, she does have a higher amount of damage buff, elemental buff, and also higher amount of crit damage. So maintaining the crit rate is the first priority. You have to do that when it comes to making her have a good ratio. And for the body piece, I'm currently using a crit rate, and also my substrate is speed and crit damage, but my roll already totally drop into a break effect and also defense, or you can say the flat defense. I'm really thinking about a spend or reroll piece on here to see that is any of my roll are going to be slap on the speed. If it is done, I guess my 200 threshold are going to be completed. For the boot, I am totally currently using a speed, and also I'm getting a lucky to get a good amount of like a rolls on my kit and kit damage. And as I already mentioned before, 200 speed is the must of a need of her if you do have a signature weapon, but if you don't even have it, then I guess bare minimum would be 100, which is also very much of a hard to do that. For the planar set, I'm currently not even using any kind of like a elemental damage off on her, because as I already mentioned before, in her build self she does have higher amount of elemental damage and also so many other things. So for making her have a good sustain things with adding a high amount of HP and a higher amount of defense is going to be the first priority. And as you can see that this roll is kind of like a godly, because in this piece we have a substrate of a speed, crit rate and crit damage, and my roll are totally got over his 7 speed, which is kind of like a mid roll. If it was like a 9 roll, then I guess I don't even have to spend my body piece with a reroll dice, and my 200 speed threshold will be done, and I'm totally going to be okay. But for my rope set, I'm currently using a defense. You could just totally mix match between it if you just somehow happen to have a good amount of like a speed, crit damage piece on a defense set. It is also going to be viable. HP, defense, anything could be works on her. For the rope, I'm currently using defense because my HP set are not even actually of a added of a speed thing. As you can see that it is kind of like HP and flat defense, not even speed. For my defense, we do have a crit damage, speed, and also crit rate. I don't even have a good roll on my speed, so or another reason why my silver roof is not even reached to the 200 speed threshold. That's the all over of a build of a silver roof. Let's move on to the Yaguang. So the main light cone currently I'm using on her, which is going to be the MOC light cone, which is actually good, but not even that much of a bad one. It is kind of like alternate option coming after of a signature light cone. For the trace, I'm also making her almost 10-10-10, but not even making her single target. It's kind of like a waste of things that I really thought it would be, so I just totally remain it onto a 2 level. For the relics, I'm currently using a divine path, something like that name. This of a set, this kind of like a new set where you can even have a speed and also kind of like a crit rate or 10% other kind of aspect, that if you are just somehow able to make it a 4-piece set or 4-piece segments. And for the handpiece, I already maintain with a good amount of speed, and also for the body I also maintain a crit rate. I don't even know is the crit rate actually going to be added any kind of value on her over the damage, but most of the people and also most of the sites already recommended her body piece into a crit rate, so that's the things that I'm currently following right now. For the boot, I'm also using a speed, and for the plenary or set, I'm using a Von Wag pen. This is the set which is a kind of like a very much we needed to know before just blindly using it, because if you do have a Yagong and also her signature weapon, then I guess you don't even have to just use this kind of like a Von Wyck. You can just totally use the Luxia piece. This piece can also can give you a one of a character. If your character even plays in a of a first position, then your character might even have a good amount of energy recharge and also good amount of like attack things. But this Von Wyck is going to be really much of a needed if you don't even have a signature weapon, and also if you don't even have meet her the threshold of a 200 speed. Yes, this is another character which is you also maintain a 200 speed threshold. Other than that, you could not even have a 3 turn in a single cycle, which is the must requirement when you are going to play within her in a Silver Roof team. Because if she cannot even have a multiple ultimate, then all over of her AHA points won't be generated that much, and your Silver Roof cannot even deal that much of a damage, and also her ultimate are not going to be uptime at the same time. So that's the thing that you have to understand if you cannot even meet the threshold of a 200 speed. For the rope, of course, it is going to be the energy, but I don't even have a speed here, where I'm going to trying to get a piece where I just totally got a good amount of crit rate and also good amount of speed at the same time. So that's the total of a build of this like a Yagong. So let's move on to our another character, which is going to be the Sparksy. For the Sparksy, I'm currently using her as a event LC, and this event LC going to give you a good amount of crit damage and also 12% elation damage for 1 turn. And for her trace, I'm currently mid-maxing her, not even mid-maxing her, I'm just totally don't even max her out on a basic skill, but all the things are totally remain to her, they are 10, because in here I also don't want to miss a single types of damage. And for the relics, I also use the same set of the Silver Roof, but in here Sparksy doesn't even require that much of a 200 speed threshold, just like how the Silver Roof and also Yagong really required. And it also gets kind of like a traditional build where I'm just using an attack, boot, and also elemental, not actually elemental, she does have a good amount of elemental on her kit as well as just like the Silver Roof. So using the attack is very much of a highly requirement, that things that you need to know. And for the rope set, I'm currently using an energy recharge with there of a good amount of crit and crit damage substats. So she's actually following the traditional sub DPS build, but there's one thing that you have to understand. The thing about her signature light cone is actually adding higher amount of value what the Yagong LC could give you, because her signature light cone can give you a good amount of skill point slot, the number of base around elation character on your teams. If you don't want to use your Sparksy in elation teams, I guess on her signature light cone does not even add any kind of value. But as the Sparksy works and also as the elation works as a whole, she has to be work on a whole over of a mono elation teams. So for having this kind of light cone is also going to be very much helpful, and also she can even have kind of like a little bit of expression of a power what the Sparkle will give you, which is a low amount of skill points. So for the final character for the Silver Roof team, which is none other than the Huho, the build that I'm currently using, which is going to be the messengers things, where I do have a good amount of speeds and also kind of like a mid-maxing of another 2 piece flex slot of a max HP, which she can even have a good amount of heal when she is going to providing to you. And for the planar set, I'm currently using a Broken Kill. She actually provide a whole over teammate a good amount of crit damage. So this is another thing that you have to understand. Other than that, kind of like a normal builds. So let's move on to her team selection, which is going to be the consist of a Silver Roof, Yagong, Sparksy, and also the Huho. Now why Huho actually helps in this team? As you already know that I don't even have a Yagong LC, and also maintaining her ultimate is going to be the first priority for my case to make the whole AHA damage higher than ever, and also make the Silver of ultimate all the ARP type. For Huho case, she does have kind of like a new Nova Flare buff where she can even have a good amount of like a uptime of her heals and also of her ultimate on all over her total of her buffs. If she's somehow able to give you a good amount of energy recharge for your Yagong, then I guess you don't even have to worry about getting her signature light cone. You could have totally make her uptime of her ultimate with a good sustainable amount of time without having any kind of worry. So that's the main thing why am I actually using her instead of any of those like a character which is the Incubator Luna Danhang of a free version or shield version. If you're one of those guys who did not even have a Huho and also somehow don't even pick from the Golden Spirit shop, I guess there is an alternate option which is none other than our going to be the Incubator Luna shield version. This guy can also be helpful, but on that case you have to get the Yagong LC to make a whole over perfectly, or you can say make a whole over optimize of her whole over buff towards the elation team. So really using the Huho is actually a life-saving mode, but I hope that Pearl also going to be do much more better what actually Huho does right now. And other than that, the team is actually pretty much of a simple one. So that's all for the team selections. let's move on to our gameplay. So for the gameplay section, all I wanted to set it as a MOC. Of course, this is like one of those like an end game, which is most of the player are going to test their character and also test their character's build to see that the build that they already pour so much time on it, is it actually going to be fruitful or not. So just like the same as the other persons, I'm going to do it right away and also see is my silver roof actually live up to my expectation, and also is there any kind of like a difference not having the one speed on my silver roof. So without further ado, let's start the MOC. So for the boss, I'm currently goes against the Firefly Evil, and as you can see that the weakness does not even going to be favor towards our silver roof, which is the imaginary weakness. So in here we are going to see that how is she is going to be the perform, and also having like a 1 speed away from meeting the threshold of 200 speed, is it actually going to be very much of a big difference or not. It is going to be tested in here as well as. So first of all, using their skills, especially overseas skills and also spices skill, and also our finally going to be the silver. Besides, as you can see, there so many lags or hiccups are going here because I don't even install this game on my SSD. My SSD already full of with the withering and also Genshin Impact, and I don't even have that much of an space. So currently just install this game on my hard drive, and you can see that result offers so much lag. Okay, for the one buff, we have got the first turn for our the Yaoguang, and also using her skill also going to be prepare her ultimate firstly, and also using this silver skills can also make her kind of like a short amount of her energy requirement.
People always
And here we go, deploying the ultimate for our Yaoguang, and here we go, instant are going to be applied at instant. That's kind of like a inbuilt kit for the Yaoguang, and also having Yaoguang, you are going to have a very much of a high time when you are totally starting a full erection build. And also they using the ultimate, which can also helps to fill up the energy requirement for our Yaoguang and also this Sparksy. Okay, I guess basic attack is going to be very much with wise choice here. Okay, here we go. Silver Roots. Basic attacks. Then her ultimate can even generate some kind of like skill points for the rest of the characters. Illusion is actually very much a skill point hungry, but as the Illusion premium DPS, she doesn't even require that much of a high speed. So I'll just use the skill again. And here we go. Sparks' skills, which can actually see that my MMRs are also meeting the requirement to fill up the another ultimate generation for my E2 silver roof. Okay. These enemies are actually very much of a good for your dot characters. If you do have dot, I guess using the dot against these teams are going to be very much of a high valuable than ever. But as you can see that I'm just currently testing without like a shield contents, not actually shield, without like a shield boss, while Silo doesn't even have a favor to us our weakness, to see that is she actually living up to the hype what the Remember is already given to us in the previous year. Eventually this year Remember is to one of the contenders of this like a current meta. Okay, using the skills to make the Silver's ultimate uptime, where she can even also help to generate, or you can say the energy, fulfill the energy requirement for our Yaoguang. Okay. We did not even do that bad. Okay, we are done. Damn, can you see her damage? Ooh, 1.22 million, man.
That only. Don't thank me.
She's so good. This is Hunter. No, she didn't even say that one. Okay. I guess when these Firefly Evil are going to choose one of those character from his like a passive attacks, the chosen character will have its own of a crit rate enable, and other the rest of the character won't even have the enable of their crit rate. So this is kind of like a very much of that boss. So this was actually very helpful for the non-crit rate types of DPS teams such as the dot teams and also the Firefly super break teams. Those teams are actually going to very much of a struggle for this kind of like a for against this boss.
An explosive start.
Okay. Follow that for our Sparksy. And here we go, ultimate for Silver. Let's see how much damage you can even put here. Yeah man, it's actually very low compared to the previous one. Did not even hit the millions.
Or devil. I'll crush them all.
As I already mentioned before, my Silver might be E2, but the requirement for the E2 is actually threshing, or you can say the fulfill the threshold of 240 MMR, which is actually very hard if you don't even have a E2 Sparksy for this current moment. But if they just somehow release another like election characters in future, I guess that character E0 version going to be fixed, but the Silver E2 has been missing currently right now. But getting a E2 character and also maximizing her output with another E2 character, which is a 5-star version or limited version, damn man, it is not even worth it. Not even worth it. But I was kind of lucky to get like a Silver Wolf
Don't thank me.
early, so that's the reason. All I wanted to say is that if you do have like 200 or 300 pools left, or you can already save up to these kind of positions, all I wanted to say is that please don't ever spend on her until you see any of this like E0 character can even fulfill what the E2 actually requires right now. Okay. I guess this one. And I guess it is actually going to take very much time. This kind of like a minion burst are also going to avoid you don't want to take a damage towards them. And also how it goes. As you can see that when I press a skills, some kind of like a MMR points are also generating for the Silver Wolf. As I already mentioned before, in this game, she's the only one character who can even have a chance to generating this much of a high MMR points, which is actually really helpful to generate the Silver Wolf's ultimate. For the Yaguang case, she can even also provide these things, but other than that, I'm not seeing any of her like a benefits. What the Sparksy can even give it to our Silver Wolf.
Best of luck. An explosive start.
Damn, 600 still. It is good. I'm declaring the Silver Wolf's ultimate. Just autoplay this card ultimate. Don't want to press the kill button rapidly. 100. Sorry, 1.9 million. I guess now I can even deploy another ultimate for our Yaguang, where she can also instant aha point, where you don't even have to wait for this turn. But when she actually deploys the instant aha point, that aha point are going to be always 20. But another like turn-based aha point are also going to be happen, which totally going to be accumulated the number of you are deploying for your Yaguang's ultimate. Skill is also going to be a good one because it also helps to speed up our ultimate faster than ever. It took like 3 cycles. So that's all for this video, and also if you like it, leave a like. The main thing about the gameplay that I already show you, it was not even that of a good one. I was kind of like giving the commentary, so my attention was kind of not even the gameplay. But if you just somehow mid-max or maximize her all over the place and also maximize all over the builds, I guess she could just totally do fine. And also it might be not even required like a 3 cycle, it might be lower than that, could be like a 1 or 2 cycle. And it could be happen if the another slot are going to be filled up, which is going to be the sustenance slot. And currently I'm using the Huho, where she is also going to be a good option for the election teams, especially the Silver Wolf teams. But when it comes to the actual team, just like the Remembrance one, she really required the full 5 of a premium election team, just like the Remembrance. So I guess we have to wait for that part and see that how Silver Wolves are going to be perform. And despite being the off element, the boss I already goes against, which is the Firefly Evil, these boss are actually very much of a gated towards the dot teams and also the super big teams. If you do have this kind of like archetype team members, I guess you are going to have a ease of fun. But in future, they are not going to give you this kind of a chance to use any other DPS rather than the election characters. So these kind of things that you have to remember that. And besides that, if you do have like a remembrance character with a good investment, they are also going to give you the serve another 1 year or another half and a 1 years until another like a million characters drop or another like a path drop on, which is tend to be are going to be propagation path. Most of the people are thinking about it, and we don't even have like a clarification when they're going to drop it. Anyway, that's all for it. And if you like it, leave a like. If you do have any kind of question regarding my playlist and also the builds that I already give a comment through all over the video, you can always totally comment on that part on the comment section. So see you on the next video.